Chapter. The next one is to cancel our December 27th meeting. It's 2 days after Christmas, and we really don't have a lot on the calendar. So is there a motion to cancel our regular meeting December 27th? Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, and then on a lighter note, I want to congratulate Dr. Grant, the Deputy Superintendent for Waynesboro Public Schools. She spent 40 years with our city here, and something I didn't know about Dr. Grant was she was also a student brought up through the Waynesboro school system. She's a graduate from Waynesboro High School, graduated from Waynesboro to become a teacher, and moved up through the ranks and became Deputy Superintendent. So she spent 40 years with us, and we want to thank her for her service and congratulate her on her retirement. We also would like to congratulate Dr. Ryan Barber, who is stepping up to take her place as Deputy Superintendent. And with that, I've said all the, before I get off here, being this is our last meeting before Christmas, everybody have a Merry Christmas. All right, next is matters from council members. Anybody have anything tonight?
You know I have something.
Dr. Sam has an update.
COVID update. Again, our numbers locally have stayed fairly stable. Although if you look at the numbers across the state of Virginia, there is an uptick again after Thanksgiving. Our numbers have risen a little bit, but again, they're still fairly low. The Delta variant continues to be the dominant variant that we're seeing in the state. But Omicron is on its way. And again, in general, we don't test every patient for the variants, but the public health folks do a sampling to see what's coming through. The thing that I want to bring attention to today is an interesting phenomenon of the vaccines. That I've actually seen more people getting vaccines here locally recently, and I think people are recognizing a couple factors. Number one, it's still important, and it's still the best way to protect you and your family, particularly going into the holidays if you want to be getting together with people. And number two, we now have a year's worth of data showing that the vaccine is safe and effective. You know, a lot of folks early on said, hey, I'm not sure if we've got enough information, and now we do. And so again, I encourage you to talk with your providers or get into one of the pharmacies and get a vaccine if you haven't. At this point, our numbers locally, adults in Waynesboro, over 76.5% of adults have had at least one vaccine. Again, which is higher than it was the last time I gave you those numbers. The other number I'll bring to your attention, 26.6% of adults in the city of Waynesboro have had a booster. And again, we know that the immunity does tend to wane a little bit. We don't know who's going to be most at risk, but the boosters do increase your immunity. So again, if you've had your vaccines but have not yet had the booster, please take advantage of that. If you haven't had a vaccine, please find somebody who'll give you one, because I think it's the best way to protect yourself going through the holidays. Thank you very much, and also happy holidays for me too.
Thank you, Dr. Hoskins. Anyone else? Okay.
Let's share an update for our colleagues that Mayor and I met with Delegate Boley the other week and lunch, and had a very productive conversation, and excited about his leadership. Understanding the sort of shifts happening in our state legislature in the governor's mansion, and look forward to his leadership and the potential for some additional leadership responsibilities on his part to serve our city. And that's all I have. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you. And just on another note to add to Carrie's comment there, Lieutenant Governor Winston Sears is going to be in Waynesboro next week. She's coming to the RISE headquarters up here to meet with their staff there. I plan on meeting with her, so if you've not met our Lieutenant Governor, it'd be a good time to come out and meet Lieutenant Governor Winston. All right, item number 6 is to approve our consent agenda. Everyone's had a chance to review it. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Sam. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. And then that brings us to item number 7, and this one's going to belong to Mr. McCormick. We're going to receive our annual CAFR or comprehensive financial report. Mr. McCormick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A representative from our audit firm, Diddle Company, Mr. Dustin Diddle, is here to deliver his opinions on the comprehensive annual financial report. The big thing to remember about this report is the report itself is the product of the city of Waynesboro. The opinions that are on pages 3 and 136 are Mr. Diddle's.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Mayor, members of council, thank you for having me tonight and allowing my firm to serve the city in this way. It's very nice to be with you back in person tonight. It's been a long time since I've seen most of you, and it's great to be here. First, I want to take the opportunity to thank Cameron and Vonda and their staffs. This doesn't get done without them, and we appreciate it. Working with them is one of the honors that we get to do as their auditors. And as Mr. McCormick mentioned, your report was prepared by him and his staff. That's not something that we used to see in Waynesboro, and it's a great move forward that you guys have that internally now, that level of expertise. And it's great to see. I don't have a lot of clients that can do that, so that's very impressive. Let's see. As Mr. McCormick mentioned, my report, the big one's on page 3 and 4 of the document you were presented earlier today. And that you received what's called an unmodified opinion. Now that is a fancy accounting way of saying that it's a clean opinion. I am quite literally signing that your ACFR is free of material misstatement and you can rely on those numbers. That was prepared by Cameron and his staff, and we deliver our opinion on their work. The other opinion that you'll see is a controls opinion. That's on page 136, as Cameron mentioned. And that's required by government auditing standards. And that defines the scope and discusses the results of our review of your internal controls, but does not express an opinion importantly. I'll also direct you to page 138, the schedule of findings, and point out that while we do still have material adjustments that we have made to arrive at this report that you're looking at, we have far fewer than we've ever had. And I think it's fair to say that in the near future, that will be going away, which again is an excellent accomplishment for your finance staffs, and I commend them for that. The last page that you'll see, 139, that's a summary of compliance matters. Those are things that we're required to look at by the Virginia Auditor of Public Accounts. And with that, I just thank you again and wish you all happy holidays, happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Cameron, congratulations. That's a great job, sir. I mean, it kind of makes us like a peacock with the feathers out here and kind of report like that. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 8. Item number 8 is to conduct a public hearing to receive comment on removal or relocation of Colonel William H. Harmon monument previously located in Constitution Park. Ms. Michelson. Mr. Wood. That's changed from my cheat sheet.
I have the cheat sheet. Mr. Mayor and members of council, section 15.2-1812 of the Code of Virginia requires localities to hold public hearings regarding removal and or relocation of monuments. In this case, the removal occurred due to vandalism and conflict with the anticipated South River Preserve North project. Council is not asked to make a determination this evening, simply hold a public hearing and receive comment. Several organizations have made inquiries regarding the marker. The city manager's recommendation is to hold a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
All right, with that, we're going to open the public hearing. When your name is called, you can come up and give your comments to the hearing, and we'll take note of your comments here. Please be mindful of the 4-minute time period, And when you come up, can you please state your name and where you live? Because of it recorded on our system. So I hereby open the public hearing.
The first speaker will be Mark Harmon.
My name is Mark Harmon. I live in Seoul, Virginia. I'd like to say thank you for your time. I'm also thankful at this point as the monument of a direct descendant. I'm a direct descendant of M.H. Harmon. I'm thankful it was removed. Just to get people up to speed, I want to talk about 15.2, 1812 real quick. If a monument of such stated is erected, it shall be unlawful for the authorities of the locality or any other person or persons to disturb or interfere with the monument. Memorials are so erected or to prevent its citizens from taking proper measure and exercising proper means for the protection, preservation, and care of the same. For the purpose of this section, disturb or interfere with includes removal of, damaging, defacing, etc. I'm simply proposing at this point that monument was erected by the UDC in 1926. They must have baked 1,000 cakes and sold God knows how many cookies to raise the money. The Harmon family would like to take this monument and place it on private land, yet it would be publicly accessible, properly lit, and secured with camera and or video surveillance. Shenandoah Battlefield Association has reached out. The Virginia Flaggers have reached out. I would just like to see it someplace other than the back lot of the Public Works building. Certainly that's not what this monument was designed for. It's a piece of local history from a really, really colorful guy, served in the Mexican War, served with Jackson. He was the Augusta County attorney for several years. A really interesting fellow, and to not have this in a place to be honored, and to not honor the efforts of the United Guards of the Confederacy who paid for it, it's just a disservice to our culture and to our Southern history. So please consider that. And if you guys would like to talk to me personally or any of the groups that I represent, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, Mechanized Cavalry, I'll be happy to give you guys business cards. I know the Battlefield Association will be reaching out to you guys, and I just want to see it someplace safe, someplace where it can be properly viewed and honored, and let's move forward. And I hope all parties can come to an amicable decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this council and staff are looking the same way you're looking at the monument, just someplace between the state.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Next up is Brandon Dorsey.
When you start talking, it'll kick off.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm sitting here waiting for the press the gas. My name is Brandon Dorsey. I'm from Fairfield, Virginia. I'm here as a representative of the Stonewall Brigade, Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'm here to speak in behalf of our support for Mark Harmon and the Harmon family to be the ones to designate what happens with this monument. In my opinion, first of all, the monument has been removed illegally. It's a shame it was vandalized. It was placed where it was placed because that's the spot where he fell. It's practically a grave marker in that sense. To have it relocated anywhere else is unfortunate, does not meet the original purpose of the monument. And if the monument is, I'm glad to hear, Mr. Mayor, your comments that you're interested in having it placed somewhere respectable. We certainly wouldn't want to hear that this city would engage in some of the actions of the city across the Blue Ridge there in Charlottesville, because certainly we would financially support and come to the aid of the Harmon family, if litigation were necessary to protect it. That won't be necessary. Again, we want to stress that obviously there's at least 4 or 5 members of the family here today. This is their relative. They deserve the respect to really make that decision in concert with other groups that are interested in it. But I think the final call should go with them, other than input from the UDC, who obviously pay for the monument. I represent their brother organization. We work hand in hand to preserve these things. Unfortunately, I hate the precedent this kind of action sets, that if you want anything removed from public property, simply vandalize it and force the city's hand by causing expense and aggravation. I think in years to come that cities will regret their actions here, because there will be further actions taken, no doubt, in the future. You're rewarding bad behavior to do these, to give into that kind of action. You get more of what you subsidize, what you allow. So rather than put the city in a position of having to continually issue expense and protect something, hopefully we can find somebody in conjunction again with the Harmon family that wants to have this property and is willing to bear that responsibility and take it off of your shoulders. That's all I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir.
Jeff Shiflett.
My name is Jeff Shiflett, and I'm a resident of Stewart's Draft. I've a long life, or childhood has been here in Waynesboro over the years. I grew up right here, right beside Kate Collins. I attended Kate Collins. I have a reputable business of 30 years here in Augusta County and throughout Waynesboro, and I'm pretty much in Waynesboro pretty much periodically through the weeks. The reason I'm here tonight is to support the Harmon family and our ancestors and preserve our history. And what I come here this evening was I have a reputable business and ensure that we will be able to remove or replace this monument wherever the desire is, cost-free and insured, and have the equipment to remove it safely and properly. Like I said, our history is being destroyed. I've always seen Waynesboro do the right decisions as I grew up as a child here. As I grew up, I even attended Kate Collins. I've even actually done the work here at Kate Collins when it was being remodeled. But just wanted to hope everybody has an open heart to preserve our history and our heritage. They're all, no matter what side they were on, they were all American people. They were American citizens. And I just wanted to donate my time, my service, my business to make sure that this monument is taken care of safely, and would give any recommendations of my reputable business and the insurance, copies of the insurance, if they needed to have this monument removed and replaced safely in a great location. I hope y'all consider with the Harmon family and please do the right thing. Thank y'all. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Next up is Paul Harmon.
Good afternoon, council. It's an honor to speak in front of you. I'm here just as a Harmon. I'm probably related to them somewhere, but I don't have my genealogy on that branch. I am related to Adam Harmon, who was in charge of building the log courthouse in Stanton in 1748. So Harmons go back here a long time. I know you hear the Scotch Irish and stuff, but the Germans were here also. And I grew up on DuPont Circle. Ever since Westwood Elementary, I went there. Kate Collins, I came here. Waynesboro High School, I graduated. I live outside the county now. I remember walking by that monument, had a flowered dogwood tree, and the monument was safe, had a wayside sign that was created to, I guess, show historical places that happened along 250. And the marker, it was designed to show the place where he fell. William Harmon was born in Waynesboro and died in Waynesboro. And so I'm here to kind of support the family. I think I'm glad the city, I don't know why they first moved it. I think because they're building the new drugstore and they wanted to shorten the road. Because it used to be a triangular shaped grass with a dogwood tree. DuPont Circle had two entrances on 250 side. But suddenly, one day, I don't think without notice, they just moved it. Or I would have showed up at that meeting. They pulled everything up. Now he was in the Freemasons. It's interesting that the Freemasons bought the church there and have it there. So I just, it's lost its purpose. Its purpose was to mark where he fell. And they even redid the sign. Okay, it's called The Last Battle of Waynesboro now. But that's where I remember as a child in the high school, teenager, reading it. I read where this Harmon colonel fought the Civil War. And I also read where a Harmon from the Union Army died. There's only 9 Union soldiers that died in the battle. And one of them was a Harmon. And I knew my family originally came from Philadelphia, and they kind of spread all around, up and down the valley. So to me, that was interesting. And that was an interesting part of the signage there was saying, it was Harmons fighting Harmons, typical Civil War. But the sign's been changed. I know there's a different sign there now, DuPont Circle near the sidewalk. I don't know if y'all know that. But it kind of just talks about the last battle of the battle. So it's kind of homogenized. It's not much detail. So I'm saying if it's lost its purpose to mark the battle site of the place where he died. So I do support letting the Harmon family, the descendants of Colonel William Harmon, his deceased family, families here, to let them take the monument and see where they can put it in a proper place. Because it's putting it down next to the soapbox derby is not even though it's constitutional park. And I wasn't aware that they were having a building where they were going to do more construction there. But that's my input, and thank you, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for giving us a chance to talk.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate y'all coming in and sharing with us tonight. And this will be handled appropriately with us, the Harmon family involved.
Mr. Mayor, that's all the speaker we have.
Okay, no more comments. I'm going to close the public hearing. And just so folks know that the staff will be reaching out to parties. We've received some comments or some folks that are willing to take the monument and preserve it, keep it on public display. And they'll reach out to the family and let you know who those folks are and reach out to those folks and see if we can't get everybody together and get this done right, okay? All right, so that moves us on to item 9. Item 9 is consider an ordinance vacating sanitary sewer easements related to Waynesboro Marketplace Development, formerly the Ladd Elementary School site. Mr. Duday.
Once again, that's Mr. Wood.
Mr. Wood. My notes prepared didn't help me.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll talk about that.
We're all good.
That would be Mr. Wood.
As well, that's right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the need for this vacation ordinance originates with the development of the old school site, old Ladd school site, excuse me. The city's manager's recommendation is to introduce the ordinance of vacation and deed of vacation for adoption at subsequent meeting as presented.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Wood, who's acting on behalf of Mr. Judette? No questions. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance tonight? Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Short. This motion will be carried over to our next meeting and considered at as we know it now, January 10th, 2022 business meeting. And with any luck and no rise in COVID, we're going to be moving from this meeting place back to City Hall on that night. So, thank you. Item number 10 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager and the director of finance to sign a certificate of ARP Utility Relief Fund. Mr. McCormick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. So these funds originate from the same legislation that we received our local direct American Rescue Plan Acts from, but they are separate in that they went to the state first, and it's an additional $238,000. The Commonwealth of Virginia has awarded that to the city of Waynesboro Fund for Municipal Utility Assistance. The award is to be used to directly assist residential municipal utility customers of the city with arrearages greater than 60 days for the time period between March 12th, 2020 and August 31st, 2021. The resolution simply authorizes the manager and myself to sign the grant award agreement.
Any questions for Mr. McCormick? Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hofstadter. Is there a second? Thank you. Carrie. Any discussion?
I do have one question relative to how recognized staff will work internally to identify health hospitals. How will we communicate that to the recipients of those funds? So if they get the bill every few months, rather than letting them continue to stress and worry over the next couple of months. I just asked, maybe it's just more of a request, is that be great to somehow notify them that these funds have been used to settle their arrears.
Certainly any credit to their account will show up on their next bill as a credit, and what the source of that is from. I can work with Mr. Hamper, Mr. Day, or Mr. John, is it mail or something that we can give somebody else.
Because otherwise, I don't think that there'll be an appreciation for where those funds came from. They might just assume it's an error.
Good point. Good point.
Imagine city treasurer.
I know she's up on top of it.
Any other discussion? All right, we've got a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Item number 11 is to consider adopting an ordinance transitioning local general elections from May to November as required by the Code of Virginia and the Virginia Department of Elections. This time it's Ms. Michaels.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mayor. As we've discussed, Virginia Code Section 15.2, 1400 was amended by the General Assembly effective July 1, 2021 to move all elections held in May to the general elections in November. As accordingly, since our city charter states that elections will be held in May, we put in action the charter amendments, and we will be making some additional recommendations of changes to the city code once the city charter is changed. However, the Department of Elections has also requested that all cities and towns adopt an ordinance sort of mirroring the same language that the May elections shall be changed to November elections. So we have, in accordance with the Department of Elections requests, I've drafted this ordinance stating that all elections will be held in November and will be, given the time frames involved, the Department of Elections stated that this should be done by the end of the year, so we designated this ordinance as an emergency ordinance, given the timeframes involved and the requirements of the Virginia Code. So this will be adopted this evening on a one vote under the City Code Emergency Ordinance Adoption Measures. And we recommend that the ordinance be adopted and transmitted to Department of Elections.
Any questions from? Okay. All right, is there a motion to adopt the new ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Shore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. And that brings us to number 12, which is correspondence, communication, and calendar. Mr. Wood.
I do not have anything for that this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And then number 13 brings us to citizen comment period. I just reviewed the list and there are no citizen comments for tonight. Want to make a comment? Sure, come on up. You've spoken here before, so you know the rules.
Yeah, I know the rules.
Green light,
3
yellow light,
minutes,
red
and the
light.
lights all good. Thank
Okay.
you, to the councilman and fellow citizens. I tried to get here for, my name's Andrea Jackson, and I live in Ward A.
We can hear you, you don't have to pull it down.
Okay, so, I just want to make a comment, and I think that the city will make the right decision in the removal of the Harmon, monument and have respect for the family and the history. But as I was listening on the YouTube, and I was not able, I don't think y'all have the phone to make comments, I had to come out here and make a comment, and just in general, because I understand the family and the history and all of that, and I looked it up, and this is a person that was born in Waynesboro, is from Stan, and has local history, and to be quite honestly, Civil War and Reconstruction is my favorite American time period. It's quite fascinating, and I'd like to just say that I am a history. I have a bachelor's of art and history and a minor in Black studies. So, on this with the monuments and whatnot. So when this first started coming off, I was like, monuments, they really didn't bother me. But and on looking at it and the history of why a lot of these monuments were put out, that's why they need to come down. And so I just wanted to stand up and state a different perspective from, somebody quoted like, our history is being destroyed. And, I just need to clarify that, no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? History is being, accurately portrayed. And so this is a part of American history, like it or not. Slavery is a part of American history, like it or not. You know what I'm saying? And we, as a country, is one of the greatest countries in the world. I have fought for this country. I love, the United States, but I also know that it has its flaws, but it's fluid. It has since, its inception, has developed, and like, when's the Constitution, that's why we have the Bill of Rights, that's why we add more amendments, because we're constantly evolving as a country. And so, as of now, in 2021, we have to look at our history and really look at it as the history for what it is. And as a Black American and African American in the United States, we are not really taken into consideration when this, monument is taken into account. As an African American, you have to understand like the history of the Civil War. The Civil War, was a war fought about slavery, and that's just, that's just the history. That's just fact. And just because, we were taught the false lost cause narrative, we have to unlearn that. And that is something that is paramount. That is not, destroying your history. That is correcting history and propaganda that was, taught at the end of the Civil War, because who wants to be like, oh, wow, my grandpappy, fought for slavery. Nobody wants that, so you want to make up something that you can be proud of. And there's nothing wrong with your ancestors being or fighting in the war and you wanting to preserve that history. You also have to consider, what are you saying to people when you're doing reenactments, when you're fighting to keep monuments? Because for me, as a Black person, you're basically saying, well, hey, if this war had went the other way, I could be a slave. Exactly. So on that note, it's about more than just, I don't like the narrative of you're destroying our history. No, we are correcting history and we're moving forward and we're recognizing it and putting things in the correct thing. This is one statement that I know. Nazis do not have monuments in Germany, and therefore Confederates should not have monuments in America. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, item number 14, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Oh, Mr. Allen. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Short, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Meeting adjourned. Nobody ever wanted to.